gotta ask, first of all, what was it like for you all to bid farewell to these characters after all these years?
Bittersweet, you know. You spend 10 years working on something, it's just becomes a part of your life.
He went like this, he like grabbed my shoulder, and then I saw him, he was tearing up, and then I looked around the room, then it was like dominoes, except Caleb was like still trying to keep composed.
What was special about the table read was we didn't read the scripts before, we all showed up and just read it together.
As the months rolled closer to the release of the final season, the cast found themselves carrying a weight they weren't fully prepared for. A strange mixture of pride, exhaustion, and the creeping realization that their lives were about to change forever. They had become icons, childhood heroes, memes, Halloween costumes, and emotional touchstones for an entire generation. Stranger Things wasn't just a job. It was a universe that shaped them. It was a second home, built from flickering Christmas lights, dusty Hawkins classrooms, and the creepy hum of the Upside Down. Leaving that behind would take more than one emotional farewell. The end of Stranger Things isn't just the end of a series. It's the end of a cultural era. And now that the cast and creators are finally opening up about their real feelings towards the finale, we're learning just how emotional, surreal, and downright heartbreaking the goodbye truly was. And strangely enough, it all begins with one question most fans didn't expect. Why wasn't there a Stranger Things Christmas special? You see, Stranger Things has always loved releasing its seasons around major US holidays. Season 2 leaned all the way into Halloween with its rotting pumpkin patches and spooky fall aesthetic. And Season 3 exploded across the 4th of July with fireworks, chaos, and the Mind Flayer towering over Starcourt Mall. So when Netflix announced that the final episodes of Stranger Things would drop over Christmas, the biggest family holiday of the year, fans were convinced the Duffers were giving them a festive send-off.
What do you think about people planning their holidays around this series? I mean, Thanksgiving, I have family and friends who are saying, dude, I'm gonna be watching Stranger Things. New Year's Eve, we're not going out.
But when the question was put to them directly, Matt Duffer just laughed. Like the Star Wars holiday special, something like that, he joked, referencing the 1978 disaster that George Lucas has pretended didn't exist for decades. Matt admitted that there was no Stranger Things holiday special, explaining that when they were working on the season, they didn't even know what the release date would be. But even without an official Christmas theme, the Duffers say the energy of the holiday is still steeped into the series because their biggest inspiration this season wasn't some gloomy horror movie. It was Home Alone. Yes, seriously, the Duffer brothers actually revealed that the final season's booby traps and chaotic DIY heroics were inspired by none other than Kevin McAllister. And honestly, it fits perfectly. Hawkins has always felt like a place where kids defend their homes with whatever scraps and gadgets they can find, turning living rooms into battlegrounds and basements into headquarters. Matt Duffer even admitted they love the idea of releasing the finale at Christmas. Just because we're film guys and big films were often released at Christmas, we like the idea of people watching it together, he said. Instead of fans bringing the final chapter alone on a tiny screen, the Duffers hoped the Christmas release would bring families and friends into the same room, sharing one last journey into the Upside Down as a collective experience.
And I think the show is all about togetherness and family. And so what better way to bring people together on special occasions, but also to bring them together to watch the final season. I think that's what our show stands for, so it kind of makes sense.
And Netflix took that idea even further, staggering the episodes like actual holiday events. After a November cliffhanger that nearly broke the internet, 3 more episodes dropped on Boxing Day. And the top secret finale, which even the cast wasn't allowed to watch early, is going to be released on New Year's Eve. For the first time ever, Stranger Things fans worldwide would watch a finale at the exact same moment, something Matt and Ross Duffer were thrilled about. With the finale also premiering in select American cinemas, it would give everyone, even the superfans, a chance to experience that ending together with no risk of spoilers ruining the moment.
We knew what the last 10 minutes of the show were.
Okay.
And for many, many years.
Yeah.
And so that gave us the confidence because we know we could make 10 amazing hours of entertainment and then we slip on the last 10 minutes and that's all anyone's gonna talk about.
Right.
But while fans waited for the end, the cast had already lived it months earlier, and filming the final scenes was a level of emotional devastation none of them were ready for. Matt Duffer revealed that they arranged the schedule so that each actor filmed their final scene on their last day. Filming the ending was very emotional. Matt continues, "We made it so everybody's final scene in the show was their final day on the set. Each of those days was really hard, but I would argue it was harder for me and Ross because we had to experience it many, many times before everybody's final day." And for the original trio Finn, Wolfhard, and Caleb McLaughlin, and Gaten Matarazzo, the ending didn't just mean saying goodbye to a show, it meant saying goodbye to their childhoods. These guys were 13 and 14 when Stranger Things began in 2016. Now they're adults, with lives and careers that were shaped entirely by the town of Hawkins.
How old were you when you guys started?
I was 10 when I auditioned.
9.
Caleb McLaughlin reflects on the end of Stranger Things. He talks about the show as if it's a part of him, saying he spent almost half his life in Hawkins, long enough for it to shape not just his career, but who he is as a person. For him, the series isn't just a job. It's his childhood, captured in scripts, long shoot days, and friendships that grew up alongside him. And now facing the final goodbye, he calls it bittersweet, the kind of ending that hurts but still feels right. "I don't think we would cherish it if it didn't end," he says, sounding like someone finally closing a chapter they never thought would turn. Finn Wolfhard tried to cut through the heaviness with a joke, insisting he didn't cry once. But the laugh doesn't hide everything behind it. After nearly a decade on the show with 1 full year spent filming just the final season, even he admits it wasn't easy figuring out how to process the moment. Walking away from something that defined their entire youth is harder than any of them want to admit. And then there's Gaten Matarazzo, who thinks not just about the cast, but the fans who have grown up with them. He hopes the final season brings everyone the closure they deserve. Stranger Things became something deeply personal to millions, and he knows the ending will land hard. He can already imagine the tears, not just from the characters saying goodbye to each other, but from the people who watched them grow up. He adds, "It's heavy, you know. It's 5 seasons. It's a decade long, something that a lot of people have invested a good amount of time into. It'll definitely have an impact." The way he says it makes it clear. The world of Hawkins may be closing, but its echo will last far longer than the gates it opened.
We really get along, and it's just, I guess, fun to go through the making of a show like this, the good times, the hard times, when you're just with a group that you really like and you really get along with. So.
But the real behind-the-scenes heartbreak came in Atlanta, after the cast wrapped the final episode. Instead of filming one last scene and heading home, some of the cast refused to leave the set. They turned the basement into one last childhood hideout, building forts out of anything they could find, running down the halls, staying awake all night as if they were kids again.
What will you miss most about this experience, do you think?
I think my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to say goodbye to that.
Finn Wolfhard said, "The moment the camera stopped rolling, everything felt like a breakup with someone you still love. The final day was the weirdest, most positive, coolest moment ever," shared Wolfhard. The cast didn't want the magic to die, so they slept over on set. Couch cushions on the floor, blankets thrown into makeshift tents. Gaten remembered McLaughlin's tent being so big it nearly filled the entire basement. It was their last chance to stop time, but morning came anyway, and the goodbye, according to Finn, looked exactly like the end of season 3. Everyone hugging, everyone was crying, everyone piling into separate cars. Gaten drove. Sadie sank back in the seat. No one said much. Everything was foggy outside, like Hawkins itself had one last storm to send them off. Gaten said it felt gross emotionally and literally. And McLaughlin summed up the whole experience perfectly. It felt like a 90s anime flashback. So after all of that, how could anyone expect this goodbye to feel simple?
Oh God, I remember
Emotions
that.
hit for everyone.
Yeah,
It was crazy.
it was.
It was.
Director Sean Levy didn't even know about the sleepover until the cast casually revealed it during an interview. He just laughed, shook his head, and smiled. Over 10 years, Levy had watched this once small group of wide-eyed kids evolve into confident adults and seasoned professionals. Season 5, he says, is the fruition of 10 years of maturation and just getting really, really good at their job. A chapter that captures not just the end of a story, but the end of a childhood shared on camera. Levy remembers reading the Duffers' original script as an unknown TV director and thinking, "This is so good. I have to help make this real." Netflix took a massive gamble on them. A sci-fi horror show led by unknown children. It broke every rule of TV at the time, but it worked. And now, a decade later, they weren't ready to let it go either. The older cast felt the same grief. Natalia Dyer, Charlie Heaton, Joe Keery, and Jamie Campbell Bower compared finishing the show to going through all 5 stages of grief. Keery said the goodbye was bittersweet because the cast spent 10 years building something together. 10 years of inside jokes, late-night shoots, long hours, friendships, fights, and triumphs. Keery said that after spending 10 years working on the show, it had naturally become a major part of their lives.
So much of work as an actor is like new environment, new people, make friends, say I'll be friends forever, say goodbye, never see them again. And
Is that the case here?
And no,
Yeah.
not at all.
Right.
And I think that that's what's so special.
The cast have created so many fond memories together that it's hard to know who he'll miss most. He explained that they all got along well, and that going through both the good and hard times of making a show was easier and more enjoyable when surrounded by people you genuinely like. Natalia Dyer, who has watched the younger cast grow up since they were kids, said one of the greatest gifts of Stranger Things was seeing them evolve into the artists they are now.
I can just say that I'm, having met all of these people and the kids and everything 10 years ago, and watching them grow up into the people that they've become and the actors and performers and colleagues that they've become is just one of the most gratifying experiences.
Charlie Heaton described the ending of the series as something that felt almost like a breakup. He said that wrapping the show and waking up the next day left him with a strange sense of loss, as if he were questioning whether the entire experience had really happened. The show's creators, the Duffer Brothers, have admitted that the final day on set was an incredibly emotional experience for everyone involved. Matt Duffer shared, the final day was it was hard. It was really emotional for everybody. Everybody was crying. They were all like, I'm not going to break. The cast, who had spent years growing up together both on and off camera, struggled to hold back tears. Jamie Campbell Bower, who portrayed Vecna, said he had felt overwhelmed once he realized the journey was actually over. He recalled that someone had taken a photo of him looking like a man who had just dropped his bags and let out a long breath, capturing the moment full of emotion. The usual last looks ritual, where hair and makeup teams do final checks, became almost unbearable for him. He admitted that he had begged them not to call it last looks, describing it as a surreal experience. For him, it was a mixture of pride, relief, and heartbreak, knowing that he had given everything he could and that the series had officially come to an end. But Bower wasn't the only one moved to tears. Matt Duffer recounted that the entire cast had difficulty keeping composure. People started to break at the very beginning of the day. It was like, guys, we have 12 hours to get through. Deep breath. Despite the tears, there was a sense of pride and accomplishment. The final scene of the show, which had been meticulously edited and scored, left the team extremely satisfied with the culmination of their decade-long journey. Yet while emotions ran high, the Duffer Brothers also noted the practical realities of production, balancing sentiment with the need to finish filming. And then, in a classic bit of filmmaking irony, the siblings realized that there was one final detail missing. It felt like the beautiful, perfect ending for the show. And then we were editing, and we realized we forgot to shoot this close-up of a lunchbox. So we had to go back and shoot that. He pointed out that technically, the final thing ever filmed for Stranger Things ended up being a G.I. Joe lunchbox, a quirky reminder of the human imperfections behind even the most epic productions. After 10 years, laughter and tears mingled in equal measure, so it leaves one wondering, how do the fans prepare themselves to say goodbye to Hawkins, knowing that even the smallest details carry so much emotional weight?
It's the most emotional season. It hits pretty hard, I would say, the last episode. It's also epic and scary.
But Jamie also teased what fans can expect from Vecna in Season 5. His motivations are stronger than ever. His rage is bigger, and he hasn't been resting. Ross Duffer added that the scariest part is that Vecna is barely seen at first. He's a shadow, a threat, and no one knows what he's been doing. That mystery, the unseen horror, is what makes this season so unnerving. Jamie also returns as Henry Creel in ways that will shock viewers. He described the process of playing both sides of his character as terrifying, especially when portraying Henry as a version of himself trying to make others feel comfortable. It's manipulation at the highest level. The Duffer Brothers, looking back across 10 years, say finishing Stranger Things has been harder than starting it. In 2015, they were unknown underdogs who pitched a nostalgic sci-fi idea inspired by Steven Spielberg, Stephen King, and 80s classics like E.T. and John Carpenter films. Netflix took a huge chance. If the show failed, the Duffers knew they might not ever get another opportunity. Now they're not afraid of failure, but they are afraid of saying goodbye. Ross admitted he avoids thinking about the ending because it makes him too sad. Matt said he'd rather have the pressure of sticking the landing than the fear they felt during season 1 when no one knew if anyone would watch. And yet the nostalgia of being the underdog will never leave them. Matt admits that it was fun to be the underdog. Ross agreed. When we started, Netflix was an underdog. We were an underdog. And everyone loves a good underdog story. So it's a strange thing, 10 years later, to be the opposite of that. It's a little surreal. As for the final episodes, everyone agrees the stakes have never been higher. Hawkins is in lockdown. The Upside Down has ruptured into the real world. Vecna is wounded but furious. And 11 must face him one last time. But the story on screen, monsters, battles, chaos is only half the journey. The real story is the decade these actors lived together. The laughter, the fights, the sleepovers, the childhoods were shared, the adults formed, the friendships that will last a lifetime. And as the finale rolls out, first the November cliffhanger, then the Boxing Day drop, and finally the New Year's Eve ending, fans worldwide will experience that goodbye together, just as the Duffers hoped. Kate Bush even sent birds as gifts to the cast and creators, a surreal final reminder of how huge the show became. A decade ago, nobody knew what the Upside Down was. Nobody knew the names 11, Mike, Dustin, Lucas, or Will. Nobody expected unknown teens to become global icons. Nobody expected Netflix to reshape TV forever. And now we're all here at the end crying, remembering, celebrating, grieving, holding on, and letting go.
It was very emotional. I actually couldn't drive home. I had to wait and sit for half an hour and then drive home.
One fan even chimed in on social media saying, "You guys did not know how the show was going to end." Well, many years, sure, maybe 5 years ago, but not the beginning of the show. And that really puts it into perspective just how organic the journey of Stranger Things has been. The Duffers didn't map out every twist and turn from day one. They let the story grow alongside the cast and the world of Hawkins itself. Stranger Things was never just a show, it was a phenomenon, a childhood, a chapter. And now the cast is telling us the truth. Letting go hurts. Letting go feels impossible. Letting go feels like losing a piece of themselves. But they're grateful, proud, emotional, and ready for the world to see the ending they poured their hearts into. The end of Stranger Things isn't really the end. It's the moment the story passes from the cast to the world one last time. So now that the creators, cast, and director have all said their final goodbyes, how are fans supposed to prepare for theirs?